In general, wearing equipment can really help with lifting safely.
And having someone else check that is really important.
I really like the Quest Vanilla protein shake.
That's why gyms have mirrors, you can see your form.
Hi, my name is Riya Suresh.
And my name is Rachel Chio.
Welcome to part 2 of our lifting guide, where we'll be talking about experiences and struggles that more advanced lifters face, and talking about especially how our powerlifting experience kind of reflects that. So first, powerlifters are no stranger to overtraining. This can ultimately hinder your results when you don't allow your body to rest adequately. And one time where this is especially reflected in our training is we're only allowed to go up to around 60% of our max before meet.
By not going above 60% our max before meet, it allows your body to not be overtrained and overexhausted before a big meet where you really have to give 100%. So it's important to not overtrain your muscles all at once and spread out your hard training days and also having lighter lifting days.
And as we talked about earlier in part 1, you can vary rep amounts based off of what goal you're trying to hit. So as we said earlier, 6 to 8 reps typically targets more intensity, and 8 to 12 reps is more for volume. Typically, what may result from overtraining are injuries, and as powerlifters, we see these most in shoulders, like lower back, knees, and wrists. And I actually injured my knee. I would always be wearing this brace. During that time, I went to the doctor and sports therapist multiple times to make sure that I was healing correctly. When I returned to my regimen without my knee brace, I made sure to ease back into it without going too hard all at once. In general, wearing equipment can really help with lifting safely. Especially for powerlifters, we use 3 main different types of equipment. So we have wrist straps, knee sleeves, and belts.
So for example, wrist wraps keeps your wrists straight, especially during wide grip bench. For knee sleeves, it stabilizes your knees during squats to be able to lift you up better. And then for belts, it supports the spine during compound lifts, as well as engaging your abdominal.
And when you're lifting heavy, especially RPE 7 or more, it's important to use this equipment to make sure that not only that you can lift heavier, but that you're not utilizing your muscles incorrectly. Now, it's important to not be overly reliant on this equipment. As powerlifters, we typically use it during meets and only when we're hitting high intensity during practice as well. So it's important to get your form down and solid before you start trying to use this equipment.
Definitely before going to super heavy weights, you should make sure that your form is correct, and having someone else check that is really important, and making sure that that's why gyms have mirrors. You can see your form, you can see how if you're messing something up that could cause an injury once you add too much weight. Definitely before you get to heavier weights, make sure your form is correct, and once you get to kind of the heavier range where you're about to have a personal record or a PR, that's when you start to put in things like belts and knee sleeves and wrist wraps.
Moving on to another aspect of training that can really help prevent injuries are diet, which increases the rate of your muscle repair post-workout. It's also important that you're getting in good nutrients before your workout so that you stay fueled. Typically, this looks like having carbs before workouts and protein after workouts.
For example, during our powerlifting meets, before we would lift, we would eat things like Gatorade bars, which has a lot of carbs, and also it has sugar as well, but both of those work out to fuel you for lifting.
And typically, before any regular workout, you can just have bread, pasta, and rice. And it's important that these meals are not super heavy and stay more snack-sized in terms of portions.
For protein after workouts, that could look like meats, protein powder, which could be used for protein shakes, and bars. Lentils or beans are great options for that as well. For optimal muscle growth, eat around 0.75 grams of protein per pound of your body weight. Ensure that you spread this amount of protein across 3 to 4 meals a day rather than all at once.
As someone who's tried a ton of protein brands, my recommendation would be First Form for protein bars. That's 1ST space PHORM, and I really like the Quest Vanilla protein shake.
Personally, I would recommend Fairlife's protein shakes, whether it's Core Power or the regular version, and I would recommend the chocolate flavor.
But it is important to not get too worked up and picky about what kind of food you're eating, trying to become extremely lean. It's important to prioritize your nutrients and your diet, but don't get too worked up in the little details of eating extremely lean.
You definitely shouldn't jump quickly into extremes, such as only eating like 1,000 calories per day. You should definitely do it gradually so that you can adapt healthy habits, such as maybe only going 2,000 calories, but you start your first week by only cutting, like maybe having smaller portions, but doing that kind of in more increments as you go through your journey to reach your goals.
For those looking to lose weight, it's important to, like Rachel said, be gradual about it. Don't demonize any food group. It's important that you're still getting in all your nutrients, and that's how you're going to feel productive in the gym if your body is being properly fueled.
Healthy meals doesn't necessarily mean that it tastes bad. You can always have healthy meals that taste great, and there are plenty of recipes out there and that are not boring. It's not just plain salads every day.
And if that requires learning how to cook, then that might be something you should take up on the side. Moving on to more mental aspects that gym goers struggle with, definitely body dysmorphia is a very, very detrimental issue, especially if you're perceiving yourself as like small and weak. In real life, you could be a lot bigger and stronger, or vice versa. You could be unhappy with your body weight, and in real life you're actually a lot smaller and you're driving yourself to malnutrition and starvation. And especially as powerlifters, being in a weight-based sport definitely can be a bit of an issue, struggling with weight and having to maintain weight in a certain weight class. It's just important to know that lifters come in all different sizes and shapes. They can be tall, they can be short. For reference, I'm 5'7" and compete in a lighter weight class, and there's not many of us, but it's not entirely uncommon to see people like that.
Each body is different, and you can't necessarily directly compare yourself with someone else that maybe you've seen online.
It definitely takes years of lifting. Personally, I've been lifting for around 3 to 4 years, and that's how long it's taken me to be at the strength I am now. And especially if you're just starting in the gym, it's important to not compare yourself to other people who may have been lifting for decades. It's also important to not compare weight with other people. So as someone that loses weight for powerlifting, a common misconception that I get is, oh, why aren't you bulking? Why aren't you eating more? Aren't powerlifters supposed to be really big? Well, people tend to be uneducated. I definitely don't look like your stereotypical powerlifter, so I definitely struggle with people being like, oh, you don't really look like a powerlifter, you're so skinny. It's important to not judge other people and their bodies, because strength can look different on everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I've been lifting for about 4 years, and I would say, going back to your part on how being intimidated at the gym, you can definitely get better through time and through a lot of practice. Don't be scared to ask people for help, especially in the gym. If you need someone to look at your form, or if you need someone to spot, you shouldn't be scared to ask people for help, because they've also been there once. They had to learn that once as well, and they would most likely be very happy to help you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I'm Rachel Chio.
And I'm Riya Suresh, and we're signing off.